Yep, this is Candor Talk, where we discuss politics, social issues, entertainment, and all things hot. We aren't afraid to hit hard because exposing the truth comes without fear. Join us every Saturday at 11 p.m. Let's go. Yep. What's up, fabulous people? Oh my gosh. I'm supposed to be watching the Ohio State Buckeye game. As anybody knows, I'm a Buckeye to the core of me. I graduated from Ohio State University. I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. We're losing right now, so I'm not in the greatest mood right now. I'm just shocked at my team right now. What are they doing? I can't believe what's going on. But anyway, nevertheless, let me just get into this show today, because I think that what I'm trying to do today in this show is basically talk about something that I think is going to be more informative than, a lot of times I do like to crack jokes because I am probably somebody who just loves comedy. I just think that sometimes you have to find, the comical aspect of certain things sometimes in order to get through it. But today I think I'm going to be a little bit more educational. So anyway, let's just get right into the show. Okay, so I presume that everyone has done something that made people laugh at them. Not with them, but laugh at them. That's a consequence of being human. It happens to all of us. However, how many have been laughed at by the globe? How many? There are few people in the world that can accomplish as much ridicule as the imposter in the White House. At the NATO summit, many things happened. First, global leaders were laughing at the imposter in the White House so hard. They were laughing at him literally so hard that they ran him out of the building. Here's what happened. And you know what? I'm going to let Joe Biden's ad explain how embarrassing it is to have this imposter as the president of the United States. Here it is.
World leaders caught on camera laughing about President Trump.
Several world leaders mocking President Trump.
They're laughing at him.
My administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
World leaders mocking and ridiculing him for being completely off balance.
Allies are deeply worried about it. They say he's becoming increasingly isolated. Something is very wrong.
The world sees Trump for what he is: insincere, ill-informed, corrupt, dangerously incompetent, and incapable, in my view, of world leadership. And if we give Donald Trump 4 more years, we'll have a great deal of difficulty, if ever, being able to recover America's standing in the world and our capacity to bring nations together.
I mean, I'm sorry, but to get laughed at by that many world leaders where they're sitting there making jokes about you, at some point you have to be like, oh shit, there's something wrong with me. And then another thing happened. I don't know if you guys know who Princess Anne is, but she is the daughter of Queen Elizabeth. Princess Anne refused to shake the imposter and the imposteress, which is Melania's, hands. Just imagine being the alleged president of the United States, coming to England and being ignored deliberately while in the royal residence. Even the princess, whose mother is the Queen of England, refused to shake their hand, refused to come into that royal line and shake their hand. Now listen, most of us have shame, innate shame, which means we recognize that we've become a jester and will do everything we can to eradicate that embarrassment. The imposter does not have shame. He repeatedly puts himself in environments where he's not wanted. The globe has been forced to have to deal with him despite majority of the world's disdain for him. But this isn't just about him. And let me be very clear about this. This isn't just about him. This is also a reflection on us. How can the greatest country on earth have allowed such an embarrassment to lead the free world? I know people say they didn't vote for him and can't be responsible for the flagrant foul. Technically, that's true. I didn't vote for the flagrant foul either. However, if we view ourselves as Americans and believe in the unity of our nation, then we are deemed by the world equally culpable. The only way to reverse this embarrassment is to ensure that he's either removed from office by either impeachment or through the next election. And let me explain why I'm saying that. He's too shameless and incompetent to resign and has too much of a stronghold on his spineless cabinet to have the 25th Amendment invoked. Removing this flagrant foul is on us. One of two ways at this point. There's no longer multiple options. One of two ways. It's either impeachment or we vote him out of office. But that's it. And let me talk about impeachment, because there is so much misinformation floating around, and I must set the record straight. First of all, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 5 states in pertinent part, The House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment. Then there's Article 1, Section 3, Clause 6 and 7, which says in pertinent part, the Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. When sitting for that purpose, they shall be on oath or affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside. And no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. Which means that the House has the sole power of impeachment. So right now, when you see what Nancy Pelosi is doing and what you see that the Democrats are doing right now, that is within their power. They have every right to be doing what they're doing right now. So when you hear Republicans say this is a violation of their power and they're abusing their power, it's like, are you stupid? Did you ever read the Constitution? You swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. You don't understand that what Nancy Pelosi is doing right now is within her oath of office. And then after he's impeached, which I'll kind of go through the process in a minute, but after the imposter is impeached, then it goes over to the Senate. The Senate has the trial, and 2/3 of the Senate basically has to vote to remove him in order for him to be removed from office. Now you have Article 2, Section 4 of Constitution, which provides in pertinent part that the President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. I'm going to explain to you what high crimes and misdemeanors means, because a lot of times people misconstrue that and try to use it and say, well, here's a greater crime. That is so ridiculous. I'm going to explain to you what that means in a minute. But here's how the process works. First, the Congress investigates. The investigation typically takes place in the House Judiciary Committee. It can also take place in the Senate Judiciary Committee, which is what happened with Nixon. They started the investigation of Nixon in the Senate Judiciary Committee. And then the second thing that happens is the House of Representatives must pass by a simple majority of those present and voting articles of impeachment, which constitutes a formal allegation or allegations. Upon passage of the articles of impeachment, then the person is impeached. So once the House actually passes the articles of impeachment, then the person's impeached. Okay? And so then, and technically they can actually just go like set up a small panel, a special panel, and use that and vote on it. But I don't know if that's what they're going to end up doing. And then obviously after that happens, the Senate tries the accused and the Chief Justice of the United States presides over those proceedings. Now, in terms of high crimes and misdemeanors, that came out of the British common law tradition. Essentially, it means an abuse of power by a high-level public official. This does not necessarily have to be a violation of an ordinary criminal statute. Republicans are always talking about the Federalist Papers when it's convenient. But in 1788, Alexander Hamilton described impeachable crimes in one of the Federalist Papers, the papers that they're always talking about, that they claim to rely on to get their understanding of the interpretation of the Constitution. This is what Alexander Hamilton said, and I quote, "Those offenses which proceed from the misconduct of public men, or in other words, from the abuse or violation of some public trust, they are of a nature which may be peculiar propriety, be denominated political, as they relate chiefly to injuries done immediately to the society itself." Basically what he's saying here is that it's not just exclusive to criminal conduct. It also relates to whether or not the person violated the public trust or abused their particular power. That's what he's talking about. So when you hear people claiming that Trump didn't commit any crimes, he didn't commit a crime. How are we going to impeach him when no one commit a crime? When you hear people talking that Trump didn't commit any crimes, although he has, that's not the standard. The violation of the public trust, his abuse of power, are sufficient enough to institute impeachment. So when people say all these arguments you hear from Republicans that this doesn't rise to the level of impeachment, this doesn't rise, these aren't the grounds upon which what crime has he committed? Even though we all know there's quid pro quo there, prospectively bribery, which is also in the Constitution, but nevertheless, that's not neither here nor there. But the truth is that isn't even what matters. Don't concern yourself with, okay, I need to find the exact crime. So I'm saying this even to Trump supporters, because I know some of you listen to the show sometimes and, you know, you always dislike the show because I do talk about Trump a lot. It's kind of hard not to talk about him. I talk about the mainstream media also talking about him a lot because I feel like every time I turn it on, it's like Trump, and I just can't stomach hearing this guy all the time. But I'm trying to approach it from a different perspective. One, I'm trying to approach it from the perspective that I'm trying to expose him more than just reporting on him. I'm trying to expose of how much of an imposter and a disaster he is for the United States of America. And more importantly, I'm trying to push for him to be removed from office because of how much of a detriment he is to the United States of America. And so that's the reason why I do the things that I'm doing. I'm not doing this because I obsess over Trump or I love talking about Trump, because honestly, he's disgusting as a human being. So I definitely don't. So the reason why I'm going through the process right now and talking about impeachment, the standard for qualifying for impeachment, is because it's imperative that we collectively understand the grounds for it and can defend against any objection to the imposter's impeachment. There are going to be a lot of people that are going to be against it because they just support this guy. But that should not be enough for us to say, okay, well, you know what, because he has so much support, or the jobs market is doing well, or the stock market is up, that should not be enough for us to say that a person can violate the law or a person can circumvent the law because at least other things are going well. I don't know anybody who has been able to get that kind of benefit. But thankfully, Nancy Pelosi has asked for there to be articles of impeachment drafted. Here's basically what happened. Here it is.
It's official. Speaker Pelosi has directed the House Judiciary Committee to draft articles of impeachment against the 45th President, Donald Trump, moving this process closer to a floor vote. The Speaker made the announcement on Thursday following weeks of testimony about how the president and his allies pressured Ukraine to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden and Biden's son.
The facts are uncontested. The president abused his power for his own personal political benefit at the expense of our national security by withholding military aid and crucial Oval Office meeting in exchange for an announcement of an investigation into his political rival.
Okay, let me say this too. It's not necessarily important that the Senate does not remove the flagrant foul. View it like this. If someone commits a crime, they are charged and indicted. After the jury trial, the jury fails to convict and acquits the defendant. Let's just say that happens. Would you argue that the case shouldn't have been brought? Even though you know that the person committed a crime, but the jury just failed to convict, would you argue that no case should be brought against that person because the jury didn't convict them? You likely would not. The Senate is a jury that has prejudged the outcome. However, that doesn't negate the fact that Trump should be impeached. There has never been a person more deserving of impeachment. If we are a society that believes in the rule of law, then he has to be impeached. Let the Republicans deal with the consequences of abdicating their responsibility to protect this nation. But us relying on a perceived outcome and using that as a basis for whether it should be brought doesn't transcend our justice system. Average people face charges, and the public doesn't get to vote or decide whether or not those charges should have been brought. Even if 10% of the population supports impeachment, it still must be brought. Trump violated the law. He violated his oath of office. He's violated the Constitution. He's corrupt to the core. He's using our money basically for his personal piggy bank. He's abusing his power. So irrespective of whether or not the public supports it or not, that's not really the grounds upon which someone should bring charges against an individual. We never ask the prosecutors to take a public poll of whether or not they should bring charges against a criminal. In this particular situation, we shouldn't either. And even if you're going to argue that it's political, yes, it is political, but it doesn't negate the fact that he committed crimes and that there is a remedy for that. And the process of that is impeachment and trial. That's what justice is about. So anybody who's sitting here saying, well, you know, we don't have the public on our side. And at one point I was kind of thinking that too, because I was like, this might help him win re-election. No, this is not going to help him. This is not going to help him. No matter what, you still have the stain of somebody who's been impeached. That's one thing. Number two, there's overwhelming evidence against you. This is worse than Nixon, and this is definitely worse than Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton should have never been impeached in the first place. I mean, nevertheless, but maybe he should have been impeached because he committed perjury. But based on what? We're not talking about somebody who abused his power to violate the public trust, committed numerous crimes. We're talking about somebody who had an affair with somebody that should have been between him and his wife and should have never been public in the first place. We're not talking about him being a pedophile or him having sex in a relationship with somebody that was underage. We're talking about somebody who had two consenting adults who had a relationship that should have never been part of the public interest in the first place. It should have been between him and Hillary Clinton. So there's never been a president, at least in modern times, that has been more worthy of impeachment. So irrespective of how we feel about it or how Republicans feel about it, you have to support the rule of law if you claim you support the Constitution. All right, guys, that's it for me. I'm going to actually cut this short today because I'm going to go back to watching the Ohio State game. I told you guys I'm watching my Buckeyes, and they're losing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch it so much. I can't stomach people losing, especially when I'm a fan like I am with Buckeyes. Like, I'm a full-fledged Buckeye. But nevertheless, I actually have this video coming on about Nick Fuentes. It's going to be posting actually Monday. I think I posted in the community section that it was going to be Wednesday, but it's actually going to be posted on Monday. That talks about him and the Groyper movement and how they're actually affecting conservatism. So you guys should definitely check that out. And I will be back next Saturday. I apologize for last Saturday, but it was Thanksgiving weekend basically, and I was with my family, and I just didn't have an opportunity to put together a show or anything. But today I felt like no matter whether or not my Buckeyes are playing or not, I'm still going to make sure I get on here and, actually do this show. But this is how, what I've gone through here is basically the steps in the process of how to remove an imposter from the White House. And the key right now, guys, I'm just going to let you know, is us. It's either we push our congressional leaders to make sure that they support impeachment and that he is impeached, or we get to the ballot box and we make sure that we send a message to the whole world that this was an abomination. This was a mistake. This is not a reflection on us anymore because he's gone. All right, guys, I hope you guys have a great Saturday. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I will see you guys or hear from you guys next week. Take care.
We run